First and foremost, I want to give all praise, honor, and glory to Yahweh Ba'Shem Yahushai Ba'Shem HaKakwadash. Yahweh is to this world the ignorantly calls God. Yahweh Shai is to this world the ignorantly calls Jesus. Ba'Shem means the name, Rakah means spirit, and Kodash means holy. And that's on the Paleo Hebrew. I also want to give double honors to the other bishops and apostles of Great Millstone that taught me this truth. Today's video, I wanted to go into how this word has to be inside you like a fire. Okay, and this is inspired off Jeremiah chapter 20. And I'll start at verse 7. It says, O Yahweh, thou hast deceived me, and I was deceived. Thou art stronger than I, and hast prevailed. I am in derision daily, everyone mocketh me. For since I spake, I cried out, I cried of violence and spoil, because the word of Yahweh was made a reproach unto me, and a derision daily. Okay, so Jeremiah was, sighing and crying. Okay, he was feeling down and depressed because all these Israelites were straight mocking him. Okay, here it is, the Lord told him, hey, tell these people how I'm about to destroy the city. All these atrocious things I'm going to do to them if they keep in these idolatrous, in this idol worship. Tell them. And, what are the people going to do that don't believe? Say, you're crazy. You don't know what you're talking about. You and your great-grandpa been saying that. The same things we hear today is what Jeremiah was hearing back then, man. It hasn't changed. So, you could have the strongest foundation ever, but after a certain while, man, those things can start getting to you, right, if you don't check it. And that's exactly what happened to Jeremiah. So it says, Then I said, I will not make mention of him, nor speak any more in his name, but his word was in mine heart as a burning fire shut up in my bones, and I was weary with forbearing, and I could not stay. So he said, I ain't gonna say none of that, man. I'm done preaching, man. But the point is that the word was in his heart as a burning fire shut up in his bones. And I was weary with forbearing, and I could not stay. Right? So he had to speak, man. And that's the point, is that you got to be so persuaded. You got to believe so much in the Lord that you got to do this. Right? There is no if, ands, or buts. There is no, not doing it one day. Right? You're on point, man, if you don't do it one day and you feel guilty. You feel in your spirit like, damn, man, I could have done more. Especially if you had the time to. Right? That's when you should really, evaluate your, priorities. Because here it is, you got time to play the game. You got time to go work out. You got time to run. You got time, for your female. You don't got time to, do the work of the Lord, or to read, or to hear the word. You got to check your priorities. And, that's part of, what the scriptures talk about, how you have to examine yourself and be honest. 2 Corinthians 13:5, it says, Examine yourselves whether ye be in the faith. Prove your own selves. Know ye not your own selves how that Yahweh Shah HaMashiach is in you, except ye be reprobates. Right? So check yourself. And the only way to do that is to come from a place of humbleness. Right? To be humble. Because, coming from the flesh and the ego is always going to tell you, nah, man, you doing enough. Nah, man, you're straight. But taking the low approach is, you know what? I ain't doing enough. I need to do more. And, that takes a whole lot of character, for someone to do. And you see that especially, in the modern day woman, how that trait has been completely taken away with. There is that scripture that talks about how the adulterous woman eateth and wipeth her mouth and saith, I have done no wickedness. So, here it is, these women will jump from man to man to man to man, do all types of witchcraft, and said, I haven't done nothing. Right? That's that no accountability that you see today and has been happening forever. So that's something that you have to stray away with. And, no matter how hard it hurts, you got to bite the bullet and accept that you took an L. You got to get back up and keep pushing. That's Proverbs. Classic. Proverbs 30, I believe. 24:16. For a just man falleth 7 times and riseth up again, but the wicked shall fall into mischief, right? So it's inevitable that you're going to fall. But what matters is that you get back up. And that's the key point, man. It doesn't matter how long you've fallen. Okay, you have to get back up and you have to keep going. Because as soon as you give up completely, then that's it. There is no more fighting. There is no more race. You're in the world 100%. And now you're going to become a greater demon than you once were in the beginning. So keep fighting. And, tying it back to that first scripture, you got to keep fighting, man. You got to keep that fire inside of you. Right? You always, you watch these boxing movies and they talk about that fighting spirit, that fire inside of you, that dog. Okay, that's something crucial in this walk, because this walk is a marathon, really. This walk is endurance, match. How it's not about the sprint, it's about pacing yourself and making sure you just reach the finish line. Doesn't matter if you reach the finish line missing the leg, missing the arm, slow as hell, all broken down. The point is that you make it to the finish line, right? Because as it says, those that endure unto the end, the same shall be saved. Oh, let's get Mark 13:13. It says, and ye shall be hated of all men for my name's sake, but he that shall endure unto the end, the same shall be saved. So enduring, right, which that word endure goes into patience. It goes into being made hard, right? Because patience hardens you. So, that is part of this walk, is that the Most High is going to push you through that furnace of affliction, and he's going to make you go through all types of things to get those impurities out of you. Let's get that in Zechariah 13 and verse 8. It says, and it shall come to pass that in all the land, saith Yahweh, 2 parts therein shall be cut off and die, but the third shall be left therein. Right, going into how 2/3 of the Israelites are going to be destroyed here in America, and 1/3 are going to be saved. It says, and I will bring the third part through the fire, and will refine them as silver is refined. I will try them as gold is tried. They shall call on my name, and I will hear them. I will say, it is my people, and they shall say, Yahweh is my power. Right, so the elect, that third part, are going to go through that refinement. And one thing about, you look at any metal being purified, it's not a beautiful process. It's not something that's clean and easy. No, it's beating, that metal on the, I believe it's the anvil, and beating it and beating it and beating it and putting it in the fire and pulling it out and cooling it and beating it. And it's a constant process of, just destroying it, to ultimately get it to the most pure form. And that's the same thing that the elect are going through, right? When you look at, that the scripture with Jeremiah, and Jeremiah was feeling, embarrassed. He was feeling down. He was feeling defeated. That was Jeremiah being tested, right? Being tested to see if he's going to continue. Because, like I said, starting off, those things can be discouraging, because, that unbelief can ultimately, it's like a demon, man. That shit can jump on you. That's why it says in 2nd Ezra chapter, I believe it's 15, right? 2nd Ezra 15:3, it says, fear not the imaginations against thee, and let not the incredulity of them trouble thee that speak against thee. For all the unfaithful shall die in their unfaithfulness. Right? So don't let the incredulity means unbelief. Okay, don't let the unbelief of these people trouble you that speak against you. Right? Don't let that faze you, because the people that don't believe are going to die in their unbelief. So, that right there shows you that even that is a trial, being able to stand boldly, in the name of Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushai. Let's get that. I believe it's I haven't gone into this in a while. 2nd Ezra chapter 2 and verse 42, it says, I, Ezra, saw upon the Mount Zion a great people whom I could not number, and they all praised the Lord with songs. And in the midst of them there was a young man of a high stature, taller than all the rest, and upon every one of their heads he set crowns, and was more exalted, which I marveled at greatly. So I asked the angel and said, Sir, what are these? He answered and said unto me, These be they that have put off the mortal clothing, and put on the immortal, and have confessed the name of God. Now are they crowned and receive palms. Right? So this is talking about the elect. And, Yahweh Shai crowning the elect. It says, Then said I unto the angel, What young person is it that crowneth them, and giveth them palms in their hands? So he answered and said unto me, It is a Son of God, whom they have confessed in the world. Then began I greatly to commend them that stood so stiffly for the name of Yahweh. And that's the point, man. You gotta stand stiffly. Okay, not weak, not lopsided, not flexible. You gotta stand stiffly for the Lord, man. Unwavering, unmoved. Okay? No matter what happens, stand. Fight. Get back up. Fight. Keep going. Because that is what the Lord requires. We were reading it right here. Right? These are they that stood stiffly. Right? So apply that to your life right now. You feeling down, stand stiff. Right? Be sure in Yahweh B'Hashem Yahweh Shai. Know that the Lord is going to deliver and come through for you. No doubt, not wavering. As it says in James, for he that wavereth is like a ship in the sea. Right? Whatever he prays for is not going to be answered. You got to know that what you pray for is already answered. You got to know that the Most High is there. Right? Those are key words right there. Knowing. Okay? Believing and knowing. So, I'll leave it there, man. Hopefully the point was the point was established. With that, I want to give all praise, honor, and glory to Yahweh, B'Hashem Yahweh Shai, B'Hashem HaKakodash, and double honors to the elder bishops and apostles of Great Millstone that taught me this truth. Shalom to you, like Shalom.